Hey friends, it's Jeremiah doing another one of these coffee talks. I finished my coffee already, so sorry I don't have a mug anymore, but got a little less to do this or today than I did last week, so I'm a little less stressed, which is great. But yeah, I wanted to talk about something that came up with a client maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, something like that, but I feel like is pertinent to my life, something that I have to like perpetually get over and get through. But I feel like probably all of us have this at some point in time. But creatives, I think, especially the people that I'm working with and a lot of you guys that I've had conversations with, like we're all kind of struggling with a few really common things. And so yeah, I wanted to talk about that. So this idea of like experimentation and what that means, like, and it can come from a lot of different places. I think some of the more dangerous places that it comes from is like we get really defeated by getting caught up in image. So sometimes that's like the image that we want to present. Sometimes it's like caring too much about what others think about us. So as artists, like we'll think about, how does this random person think about us instead of like, how do our fans think about us? Like this random person walking down the street, we can't please everybody, but if we've got fans, let's give them what they want. So this like, this mindset thing gets us all tripped up. And so like, when we start thinking about and caring too deeply about people who aren't going to care about us, it really keeps us from experimenting. Like, I definitely made this mistake in my own career as an artist. So both for myself and in another band that I was in, like we tried to, you want to start and you want to like put this confident foot forward. And so you go, cool, we need to be doing what these established acts are doing. And what that really does is like chops our legs off because like we don't have the ability to disappear for years and work on an album. I've been the other day I think I posted about this. I was listening through Coldplay's discography. So they've been releasing music now for over 20 years. And you can see the gaps between their records are like 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. When you're an indie starting out, like you got to put stuff out, man. Like, so we disappeared for an album, put out a record, nobody cares. And we just like disappear again and never finish the second one, And I think it's this like fear of failure, this comparison thing, this getting caught up in image thing. It really keeps us from experimenting early, which is what we've got to do. And experimenting early helps us fail early, which actually helps. Like failing early helps. My wife and I are huge college football fans, and this is back in the BCS, or the BCS era of stuff, but it's still kind of true now. She always said this. She's really into college football, but she's like, the teams that lose early in the season. So a team will lose in the first 3 weeks and still make it to the championship game, still make it to the playoff because there's forgiveness for that loss early because you've got all this track record afterward where stuff worked out, right? And it's like when we're afraid to lose early, we end up losing late, which costs us everything. Like, so it's this like when we're afraid to fail, we're not going to fail early, and failing early is what will actually give us success in the future. So like it'll have me, it'll have us playing defense when we should really be playing offense. So that's kind of like a Gary Vee thing. He talks about this defense offense thing all the time. And man, it's so true. So like when you're early on, I feel like the worst mistake that we can make as creatives is to play defense in our first decade. But we do that, right? We like release music, or we develop our brand that's like so specific, where we're like, I am so like for my band, we're an indie rock band, and we're like Pedro the Lion, and we're like Color Revolt, and we're like Manchester Orchestra, and that's all we are, right? And so if we ever write a song that's semi-pop, that has to go in the trash. And it's like, what if we built the brand? The brand has to be wide enough to like encapsulate everything that we could ever do. So instead of building the brand on this thing like a genre that is so small, like build it on you. So I feel like most of my job working with artists is like helping to like rewire this thing, because it gets us into defense. It gets us into so another client, we were talking about merch stuff, and she was like, yeah, I don't really know what to do. And I'm like, so let's do a lot of things. Let's experiment. This is the time to experiment. Throw stuff out. And she was like, well, what if people don't like it? And I'm like, we'll get that feedback, and we'll stop offering the thing. But early on, like, there are ways now is fantastic. All my clients are using dropship companies, because dropship companies allow us to like test out 20 merch items and see what sells. So instead of like stacking up, boxes of t-shirts like we used to have to do, like I've still got closets full of CDs nobody bought, right? We don't have to do that anymore. Like the trade-off is profits, but early in experimenting, profits aren't the game anyway. So you throw a bunch of stuff out, you see what sticks, and then that's what we start building stuff off of. That's what we start playing offense on. But if you're in defense mode this whole time, if you're just like, man, I don't want to lose, I don't want to fail, I don't want this thing to bomb, it's going to sooner or later. Like, you're going to have no information to go off of. And so when things start to go wrong and you've been playing defense already, you've got nowhere to go. You've been playing with your back against the wall the whole time, and you can't go back any further. So I feel like most of my job these days, when I'm working with artists and doing this artist development stuff, is like helping people out of the mindset that got me stuck, where it's like, whether it's like in their merch, whatever it is, it's getting out of that defensive mindset. You've got to start putting stuff out. So yeah, for some of you guys, that's merch. Like if you've got one release, you should have some merch out. It's super easy to get that out. Merch, your content, getting your music out, and your branding. Again, the branding has to be, it's so much better if it's built on you as a person, as a human being, rather than I make pop music that's like Katy Perry, or I make indie, like my band, I make indie rock music that's like David Bazan and Pedro the Lion and Color Revolt. Like throw that out, build it on you, because as you change over time, people aren't just attracted, and they're not just growing with your music just based on the style. They're growing with you because of you. And that's the one thing that won't change in this whole thing, right? As long as you are doing music as this moniker, or as this band, or as a solo artist, like, build the brand on yourself rather than the music that you make, because that can change over time, and it's better if it does change over time. Because like what you're making right now, it's probably not going to be cool in 10 years, and you're not going to think it's cool in 3 years, because you're going to change. So build the brand on you. Building it on a genre is too small. Last example is, I love Simon Sinek. He's like kind of a business thinker, but not really, because so much of it applies to our lives. But there's a video, I'll link it in the comments. It's his first TED Talk in like 2009 about his book, Start With Why. So in it, he talks about, and this is this like offense, defense mindset, but also the branding, right? So he talks about two companies that release like TV related products. One was Dell Computers. They'd made tons of computer monitors. I've got one right in front of me. They're great. Dell they created TVs in the early 2000s. Nobody bought them because everybody's like, why would a computer company make TVs? Why should I trust a computer company to make TVs? I've got an Apple TV in my house. I mean, it's not the TV itself, but it's TV platform, right? This box that I stream everything through. Apple their brand has always been about creativity. Their brand has always been about individuality. It was never about the product they did. At least while Steve Jobs was there, right? That was his innovation in that company. And it's why they went from making computers to music devices, MP3 players, to phones. And it was legitimate for everybody, right? Now, you might not be an Apple fan, and that's cool. But Apple is one of the few companies out there that's been able to release such very different products and it still work. And it's because none of their brand was ever based on a product. The brand was always built around them and a culture and what the consumer wanted, right? They wanted to feel creative. They wanted to be valued as an individual. So anyway, I'll link that below. That's kind of the gist of it. It's super good, but especially like when you're thinking about your brand as an artist, as a creative, maybe you're a business owner, maybe you're a producer, build the brand not on what you do, build it on you. Okay? So that'll help stop being in that defensive mode. It'll get you not afraid to start fail early, get it out of the way. Get all the experiments out. You've got to see what works, and then you can start building traction on what does. But every 2-3 years in our businesses, in our music stuff, we're going to need to readdress this. So don't be afraid. Even if you've been doing music for 5-6 years, let's say you've got like 3 or 4 records out, you're never too late to switch from defense to offense. It's always going to help if you go into offense mode. And even if you've got 4 records and you've got, 20,000 fans, it's never too late to change, because once you start experimenting again, you're going to realize the new thing that'll push you forward and help grow your fan base and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's it. I got to dive into work today, but just thought that could help. This pretty rambly, but man, I love you guys. I really care about you. I hope this helps. If you've got questions about any of this, drop it in the comments. Let's have a chat. If you're an artist who's like been struggling to get traction with fans, that kind of stuff, comment below or shoot me a message. We can set up a time. I do free chats with people all the time. I mean, fewer now because I'm stupid busy, but this is one of the things that I love doing most. So even if you're never going to be a paying client, if you've got music that needs to heard, I want to be heard. I want to help you do it. So anyway, love you guys. Hope this helps. If it doesn't, sorry. You can watch stuff from someone else. And, this is an experiment. So better luck next time for me. So love you guys. Having an awesome day. Great weekend. We'll see you next time.